Okay, so now we're going to look at what is called a comma-separated values file. And basically, I've got parallel lists here. We have the smoothie flavors and then also the calories. And could I have added the protein as well? Sure, I could. Okay, so this is a very quick and useful technique to create a comma-separated values file. A comma-separated values file, well, I can show you. I've already run this program and created it. So this is what we mean by a comma-separated values file. So I had 3 parallel lists here, the smoothie flavors, the calories in each flavor, and then the protein grams in each flavor. And so what I've done, and I'll talk about the code, it's not a lot of code at all, so I'll talk about that in a moment, but this is what the final data file is going to look like. Comma separated values. So it's almost like a little database, like a mini database, and each row is a record, a smoothie record that contains the flavor, the calories, and the protein. Okay, so I will delete this because I can regenerate it very quickly. You know, well, I'll just talk about the code and then I'll show you how this the CSV file opens by default on most Windows machines. So basically, we have our with construct. So I'm going to open. Now look at the file extension I'm using. Now again, you can name your file anything, but I'm going to give it the CSV extension, meaning comma separated values file. This is a very common file format. So if you have a job like in an office or something and you use it, especially if you use Excel or you deal with data, you have probably come across one of these files already. And if you haven't, you're going to, trust me. It's very common file format for just, you know, data, rows and rows of data, rows and columns of data, which is obviously compatible with Excel and also databases. So, this is the file name. I'm opening it for write. Could also open it for append, I guess. Yeah, so there you have it. So then notice at the top here, you do have to import CSV. So there's a module for this technique, the CSV, comma separated values, which is fine. So now we're creating this writer object. Okay, calling the CSV writer method and passing it the file. So this CSV is like a special writer that writes in a special format. So we have to hook him up to the output file, which I've called file. All right, and then we're home free. Oh, I forgot the most important part. Before I write, so I've got parallel lists here. Okay, so I have to zip them all up. This technique is a little different from the one shown in your book, which they're not using the parallel list thing like I'm doing. They just have a list of lists, which is slightly different. But anyway, I have parallel lists. I like parallel lists, and you can write them to a CSV file, but you have to zip them up. If you want to do it, you know, the quick and easy way like we're doing here, zip them all up. We saw this zip method, this zip function, when we were sorting parallel arrays a couple weeks back. So here it is again. What this does, and I can mention this now because we've since at least seen a little bit of the tuple, this zips up those 3 parallel lists into like a package of tuples. Okay, so I said the tuples are going on behind the scenes, and this is one of those instances. So the lists are zipped up into a bunch of tuples. And basically the tuples, so I called it all 3. And now I'm writing, I've called this writer.write rows, writing all 3. So that'll write all of the tuples. A tuple is just a row of data, an immutable row of data. So it's going to write all of those rows to the CSV file. So I'm going to run that. There's my comma separated values file. And I just want to show you, okay, if I were to download this onto my desktop or something and then open it up, guess what program would open it? It would open it by default. It would be Excel. So this is how that file format would open. All I did was I downloaded that file that my program created. I double-clicked it and it opened up in Excel. And Excel understands the CSV file. It knows what to do with it. It knows that the commas are separators or delimiters, and it will put the data into nice columns and rows there. So yeah, very useful when working with data.